Picture this: Philadelphia, summer of 1787. In a stuffy room at the State House, 55 men are about to create a new government, and the man who will architect this entire system stands just 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighs barely 100 pounds, and speaks so softly that delegates sometimes have to lean forward to hear him. This is James Madison. And somehow this quiet, chronically ill scholar from Virginia is about to become the father of the United States Constitution. How? Let's find out. James Madison was born in 1751 on a tobacco plantation in Virginia. He grew up in one of the wealthiest families in the colony, but unlike many plantation sons, Madison was obsessed with books, not parties. He went north to the College of New Jersey, what we now call Princeton, and he didn't just study, he crammed. He completed a 4-year degree in 2 years, and then stayed an extra year to study Hebrew and philosophy. He literally studied himself sick. His health never fully recovered. But here's what made Madison different. He wasn't just educated, he was prepared. When other founders read law or theology, Madison read history specifically, the history of every republic and confederacy that had ever existed. He studied ancient Greece, ancient Rome, medieval Italy, and modern Europe. He was searching for an answer to one question: why do republics fail? By 1787, he thought he knew, and he was about to test his theory. When Madison arrived in Philadelphia in May 1787, he didn't show up with vague ideas. He showed up with a complete blueprint for a new government. It was called the Virginia Plan, and it was radical. Under the Articles of Confederation, the system they were supposedly just amending, the states were basically independent countries that sometimes cooperated. Congress couldn't tax, it couldn't enforce laws, it couldn't regulate trade. The national government was a joke. Madison's plan? Scrap it. Start over. The Virginia Plan called for 3 separate branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The legislature would have 2 houses, a lower house elected by the people, and an upper house chosen by the lower house. And here's the kicker: representation would be based on population. Bigger states would have more power. That last part almost destroyed the convention before it started. Small states freaked out. Delaware threatened to walk. But we'll get to that. Madison also insisted that this new national government would be supreme over the states. Federal law would override state law. The national government could veto state legislation. This wasn't tweaking the Articles of Confederation. This was a revolution. For the next 4 months, from May to September, Madison became the engine of the convention. He spoke 161 times more than any other delegate. But more importantly, he listened. And he wrote everything down. While other delegates came and went, took breaks, dozed off in the afternoon heat, Madison sat in the front of the room and took notes. Every speech, every argument, every vote. He recorded it all. Without Madison's notes, we would barely know what happened in that room. The convention was secret, windows closed, doors locked, guards posted, but Madison preserved it for history. Now here's where Madison shows his genius. He was willing to compromise. His Virginia Plan said both houses of the legislature should be based on population. Small states hated this. They wanted equal representation, 1 state, 1 vote, like under the Articles. The convention deadlocked for weeks. Finally, Roger Sherman of Connecticut proposed a compromise. The House would be based on population, but the Senate would give every state 2 senators, regardless of size. Madison hated this compromise. He thought it was illogical, but he accepted it because he understood something crucial. A good plan that passes is better than a perfect plan that fails. That's not the James Madison of legend, the brilliant architect with a perfect vision. That's the real James Madison, a pragmatist who wanted a government that would actually work. But here's the twist. James Madison initially opposed adding a Bill of Rights to the Constitution. I know, the guy who wrote the Bill of Rights didn't think we needed one. His reasoning? The Constitution already limited government to specific enumerated powers. If the Constitution didn't give government the power to restrict speech or religion, then government couldn't do those things. Why state the obvious? Plus, Madison worried that listing specific rights might imply those were the only rights people had. What about rights we forgot to list? But two things changed his mind. First, his friend Thomas Jefferson, who was in Paris during the convention, wrote him letters arguing for a Bill of Rights. Jefferson said even if it was technically unnecessary, it would educate citizens about their freedoms and give them something to rally around if government overreached. Second, politics. Several states ratified the Constitution only after being promised that a Bill of Rights would be added immediately. Massachusetts, Virginia, New York all demanded it. If Madison wanted the Constitution to survive, he needed to deliver. So in 1789, as a member of the new Congress, Madison drafted 12 amendments. 10 were ratified and became the Bill of Rights. The First Amendment, freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. The Fourth Amendment, protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Fifth Amendment, due process, protection against self-incrimination. The Sixth Amendment, right to a fair and speedy trial. These weren't just legal technicalities. Madison was encoding a philosophy. The majority doesn't have unlimited power. Even if 99% of people vote to take away your freedom, they can't. Some rights are beyond majority rule. Madison called this protecting the minority from the tyranny of the majority, and it's one of the most important ideas in American government. Madison's influence didn't stop at the convention. He co-wrote the Federalist Papers with Alexander Hamilton and John Jay 85 essays explaining and defending the Constitution. Madison wrote 29 of them. 2 of his essays are still studied in every constitutional law class. Federalist number 10 argues that a large republic is actually better than a small one because it's harder for any single faction to take over. The more diverse the country, the safer individual rights are. Federalist number 51 explains checks and balances. Ambition must be made to counteract ambition. You don't control government by hoping for good leaders. You control it by making sure no single person or branch can accumulate too much power. These ideas, separation of powers, checks and balances, protecting minority rights, federalism, are still the foundation of our government. But here's the myth we need to bust. James Madison did not single-handedly write the Constitution. People call him the father of the Constitution, and he earned that title. But he didn't sit in a room alone and draft the whole thing. Gouverneur Morris actually wrote the final language. Roger Sherman created the Great Compromise that saved the convention. James Wilson championed popular sovereignty. Benjamin Franklin's wisdom held everyone together. Madison's genius wasn't solo authorship, it was synthesis. He studied every failed republic in history, identified what made them fail, and then designed solutions. He listened to everyone's ideas, incorporated the best ones, and compromised on the rest. He was the architect who drew the blueprint, but it took 55 builders to construct the Constitution, and that's actually more impressive. The Constitution wasn't one man's vision imposed on a nation. It was a collaborative effort, hammered out through debate, compromise, and sometimes bitter disagreement. Madison understood that creating something that lasts requires getting other people to buy in. A constitution that represented only his views would have died in 1787. Instead, it survived more than 230 years. Not bad for a soft-spoken, 5'4" guy who nobody could hear half the time.